This is how I accidentally turned $300 into $30,000 in 30 days. Now, if you don't know me, I'm Daniel, aka Day Trades, and I've spent the last 3 years building day trading systems and strategies that teach people how to make an extra 3 to 10K per month consistently. But this time I accidentally went off my strategy, and that accident turned $300 into $30,000 in 30 days. So today, I'm walking you through exactly how that even happened, the 3 biggest lessons I learned, and the exact mental framework that turned a 1 in a million mistake into the biggest trading month I have ever had. So let's get right into it. Now, the rule I preach to every single student I mentor and every single trader in my community is that 1 trade a day keeps the 9 to 5 away. Meaning, I take 1 setup per day, I preset my stop loss and my take profit before I even click buy, and then I walk away from the screen. Once the trade is live, I genuinely don't touch it, because whatever that position does for the next couple of hours is between the trade and the market while I'm out of the room living my life. And that is the routine that has kept me consistent for 3 years straight. So, I was chilling one random Tuesday morning, about to take my 1 trade for the day like usual. I pulled up the gold charts, I checked my levels, and the setup was chef's kiss. I already had my entry, my stop loss, and my take profit locked in before I even touched the buy button. Now, for context, at this point, I was running 5 funded accounts on Take Profit Trader. All of them passed the buffer and synced up to a copy trader, which pretty much means that whatever I put on my main account, the other 4 mirror it in the exact same second. So 1 trade for me is really like 5 trades getting fired off at the same time, which also means 1 mistake for me is 5 mistakes blowing up at the exact same time. So I send the order, the buy fills across all 5 accounts instantly, and I go to drag my stop loss down to my level, and that is the exact moment that my stomach completely drops through the floor. Because the dollar amount sitting under my stop loss is a number I have genuinely never seen in my life on a live trade before. It was 10 times what I usually size on a single position across 5 accounts at the same time. That means that I am risking more money on 1 trade in that exact moment than I have ever made in the last 3 months combined. Now, for anyone watching who isn't super familiar with how futures work, gold futures on the CME trades under 2 main contracts. The one I'm supposed to be trading every single day is MGC, which is the micro version, and every dollar move on gold on MGC runs you about $100 per contract. The full-size version is GC, which trades off the exact same charts and setups as MGC, but at roughly 10 times the dollar impact, because every dollar move on gold on GC runs you about $1,000 per contract. Now, GC is way above my pay grade, and I have no business running it across 5 funded accounts at the exact same time. So when I glanced up at the top of the order tickets, my heart stopped, because the product I've been trading the entire time was GC and not MGC. 1 letter off my watch list and my brain had just fired 10 times larger contracts across 5 accounts like it was a Tuesday walk in the park. If gold moved against me by even a few ticks for the next 60 seconds, every single one of those funded accounts was going to be blown in under a minute. And I would probably be filming a sad little YouTube video right now about what I learned after watching 3 months of profit get erased in 60 seconds flat. And right as that thought lands, the next candle straight up rips into profit. A proper banger off a green candle, like the market felt bad for me and decided to bail me out. The very second I was green, 3 years of drilling 1 trade a day into my soul kicked in before my brain could even catch up with what had happened. I immediately moved my stops to break even across all 5 accounts. I set my take profit at the next session liquidity level. I closed the app and I headed to the gym like any other morning. But as I walk out of the gym 1.5 hours later, I pull up the app and every single one of those accounts is already closed out at take profit. All 5 hit within seconds of each other. That is 15 grand on 1 single position and straight up the biggest single trade I have ever taken in my entire career. And keep in mind that at the same time, I was averaging about 10 to 15 grand a month. So that one trade alone paid me out an entire month of income in roughly 90 seconds of actual screen time. I finished that month at $30,000 in profit, meaning 50% of my entire month came off a mistake I did not even catch until the order was already live. Now, I don't recommend any of this because that's straight up gambling. And even if you get lucky once, that doesn't mean that you'll get lucky every single month. What actually pays me and my students consistently over 10 grand a month is a step-by-step system I've been refining for 3 years, built around 3 specific times of the day when the clean setups actually form, and one exact pattern on the chart I wait for that tells me when to pull the trigger. And if you want to learn more about how you can apply the same system, I'll leave a link in the description below. Now, driving home from the gym that day, once the shock actually started wearing off, the first thing my brain landed on was this: how the hell did I not just blow every account I own in under a minute? The only thing I could think about was what would have happened if gold had moved the other direction for 60 seconds and I had watched 3 months of profit disappear on one click. And honestly, sitting with that question is what gave me the 3 biggest lessons I have ever taken away from a single trade in my life. And if you actually apply these 3 lessons today, it does not matter if you are sitting here right now having never pulled a single dollar out of the markets yet, because these 3 principles will completely rewire how you sit in front of a chart and how you handle every single position once it is actually live. Now, lesson 1 is that every decision about your trade has to be made before the trade is ever live. I already told you that the candle rip was pure luck, and I'm not gonna pretend otherwise. But the reason that luck actually paid me 15 grand instead of me fumbling the whole thing is because every single decision about that trade was already made before I ever clicked buy. My entry, my stop loss, my take profits were locked in before the market had any real opinion on me. Which meant when the size of that oversized position hit me in the face on the order ticket, I didn't have to think at all. My system already had the exact move queued up for exactly that scenario, which was to simply move my stops to break even and walk away. And that is the difference between a trader who survives long term in this game and a trader who gets cooked. And once you trade like this, brother, you never have to make another decision under pressure, because every outcome of every trade you take is already decided before it ever goes live. Now, lesson 2 is that once your trade is live, your only job is to get out of its way, because most traders actually get lesson 1 right. They sit down with a calm brain, they mark their levels, they set your entry, your stops, and your take profit before the market even opens. Good. But the second the trade goes live and the candles start moving, they can't walk away from the screen. They can't sit still in a live position without watching every single tick. And the longer they stare at the chart, the more emotional they get. Because when your money is on the line, your brain deadass stops being rational. Every wick against you starts looking like a reversal. Every tick in your favor feels like a window closing. And every one of those feelings is legit in the moment, especially if it is the first real money that you've ever put into the market. Now, you may resist that pressure once or twice, but you can't do that every single time, which is the single reason that the preset plan from lesson 1 never actually gets executed. So the rule for lesson 2 is that your only job after deciding the trade before it goes live is to trust the version of yourself who sat down with a calm brain and already figured it out, and not let the version of you staring at the screen override that decision. That is the entire reason that I got paid on that GC accident, because instead of sitting there and watching it, I left it alone and I let my system do its job. But there's still one more lesson, that without this, you might catch 1 or 2 profitable trades here and there, but you will never actually string together a consistent income in this game. And the third lesson is that you have to take exactly 1 trade per day, and then you are done for the rest of the day. So even on a day that you end up negative, you don't take a second trade to try to claw your loss back. No, because by the time you sat in front of a chart for hours hunting setups, your brain is genuinely fried. You've already made 100 micro decisions that morning, and every trade you take after the first one is a worse decision than the one before it. But when you take 1 trade a day and then physically walk away from the screen, you stop over trading, you stop revenge trading, and you stop trying to double down down your way out of a bad day. Your account starts showing up the same way every single week because your process is showing up the same way every single week. And the single biggest shift that turned my entire trading career around was the day I made one trade a day a non-negotiable rule. No matter how tempting it felt after a winner or how desperate I felt after a loss. Which brings me to one thing I need to be completely clear about before we wrap this up. I am not recommending that you go out tomorrow and try to catch your own version of this 15 grand GC accident. In fact, I'm telling you the exact opposite. If there is one thing that you take away from this entire video, let it be that you should not be running your trading on anything close to luck. Sure, a 15 grand accident is a great story, but it is a terrible business plan. What I am actually recommending is that you go and build or get access to a system that actually produces repeatable results every single month. And the reason I'm saying system instead of just a strategy is because there's a massive difference between the two. A strategy is a single idea for how to enter a trade, whereas a system wraps around the strategy and helps the risk, the execution, and the psychology that's underneath. And that difference is what separates someone who gets lucky once from someone who pays themselves out of this game every single month for years. And that is exactly what my students and I inside the Day Trading Accelerator have been doing every single month to pull the same kind of consistency out of the markets. And if I'm being honest, the system itself is almost embarrassingly simple. It comes down to marking out 3 specific session opens every morning, waiting for one very specific setup pattern to form, and executing the trade with your stop and your take profit before you ever click buy. Then you simply close the computer, walk out of the room until the trade closes itself. Now, for every single trader watching this, what that system looks like in practice is going to be a little different because your account size changes how much you risk per trade, your morning schedule changes which session you actually trade, and your personal risk tolerance changes which of the 3 setup types you lean on the most. And if you want to see exactly how this system can work for you, I'll leave a link in the description below where you can book a call with me where we're going to go through your current account, figure out which session actually fits your schedule, and leave you with an exact setup you can start running the very next morning so you can consistently start earning 5 figures monthly. Other than that, thank you for watching. Let me know if you find this video valuable by dropping a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.